Welcome back for episode 22 of the Natty Muscle Radio bodybuilding podcast of the week with myself, Robert Waterhouse, and my co-host,
Pro Aeronn Bevan. And I can tell you from the pre-call then that 22 is indeed two little ducks.
Two little ducks. God, I'm good at everything. Basically bingo calls now. So if you're ever thinking of an extra job I need to do, it could be one of them, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if bingo is something that you can do in a lockdown environment. Virtual bingo, I guess.
Probably fine room for it. Breaking all the rules tonight on prep. Caffeine after 8. Woo!
Oh. I was just saying off the call, and I'm not one of these people that adheres to caffeine cut-offs. I'll have an espresso before bed. I'm very European in that way.
Yeah, it's just rubbish though, isn't it? Because you explain the science to me. Why can I do that on off season, but the moment I start doing on prep, it's like, worst night's sleep ever. So,
so you think so you struggle more if you have coffee late on prep?
Yeah, is it to do with the amount of fat cells you have in your body? Maybe.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know any science behind it, but I guess if we think about it, I'm eating that much other stuff now anyway that a little espresso isn't going to really cause an issue.
No.
So, no. I can tell you that before Cara and I went to Paris, which was a work trip, by the way. I just brought Cara with me. I said to her, we're going to try some different stuff. We're not having 14 burgers, okay? We didn't have 14 burgers.
Okay. Sorry, just taking you off. Do you mean that you were like willing to try some French food?
Yeah, like I was saying, okay, come on, let's not just find burger places in the evening. Let's go find, even if we're doing like
cuisine.
Yeah, let's find a nice Italian. Let's find this. Let's find, we're in Paris, for God's sake. Let's do that. So out of 14 nights, we didn't have 14 burgers. We had, and this sounds like possibly a rude video, 12 burgers and 2 burritos.
Did you really? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's like ultimate bulk, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, it's funny actually. I lost a bit of weight on the trip, and it was because, like when you hear actual proper pro bodybuilders saying things like, "Yeah, when I travel, like I lose loads of weight because I'm on my feet and I'm not eating my meals." But I noticed that, like, because I'm eating a lot of regular food, I'm trying to keep my weight up. When I was out working in the lab during the day, I would eat light in the morning and light over lunchtime to stay. I didn't want to be like off-season bloat while I was working because it's a bit of a pain in the ass. But then I'd eat a lot at night, so I'd get home and I'd have some meals, and then we'd go out for a big meal and stuff, and try and ram a load of food in at night. And I lost weight doing that.
Backloading for the new terminologies.
Yes, that was very poignant, isn't it? I was intentionally, I was burger loading in the evenings.
Cheeseburger loading.
Shout out to Paris for having some good burgers, though.
Really? Okay, good. I went to Paris and I didn't get one, did I? So because
you were on prep.
But it still was this year at the start of the year. I was still dieting, so cheers for that.
You have to go quite far back to remember a time when you wasn't, though, right? At this point.
Taking you off on that sigh, me and Claire have been laughing because she is well aware that because Claire's dieting with me as well.
Yeah.
Because moral support and because obviously she just wants to be shredded all the time.
Yeah.
But we've realised that we don't know how many times we've counted. I don't know what the record is yet, but the dieting sigh is getting more and more apparent as the week goes on. So everyone doesn't know what that is. It's where you finish your meal, or just a random part of the day where you're probably struggling for energy a little bit, and you go, like, fuck my life, I've just finished my dinner and I'm still hungry, and that's probably worse than when I started eating my dinner.
Yeah.
I've not eaten, and then I would have been all right. So
yeah,
It's like you just have to wait that 15-minute window of letting that food go down. But yeah, so that's where we both are. There's a lot of hot air in the house at the moment. Let's put it that way.
From just sighing.
Round, yeah. So
hotter and meals that consist of primarily just hot air as well. What's meal one? A plate of hot air. Meal two, a plate of ice cubes.
I've got a nice little CB for you this week.
Yeah.
What a CB is? It's a confidence booster.
Okay.
Okay, nice little CB when someone gives you a nice CB.
Oh.
Said last week, why is Aeronn's skin so nice and why is his eyes so blue?
This is what Claire said.
What Claire said. I thought, all right, I'll just go fancy Aeronn then. So,
did you hear that, Cara? There you go. So
classic response. Probably all the burgers he's eating is why his skin's so healthy. So
okay. Yeah. Oh well, I guess you can just go and fuck yourself then, and I'll just be the only person on the podcast. Shout out to me.
The funny one, the good-looking one, the good bearded one, and also the wide one. By the looks of you in that jacket tonight. So
shout out to the shoulder pads in this jacket.
Oh, shoulder pads in it.
It's fucking great. So I bought it in the summer because I was like, when it's cold, I want to look like a lumberjack in the winter. But I've not been able to wear it because it's been warm, and because we've had a few cold evenings now. I've had to firstly steal it back off Cara because she's just wearing it as a dressing gown, which is annoying because I want it to be a nice jacket. But anyway, yeah, it's great. It's really warm, and I look massive in it. So shout out to me.
Looks like you've got huge arms, Coleman-size arms.
Trying. Well, yeah. So you can't even. I still can't even. Still dents in.
Very good. So, any news, any gossip, first of all?
Well, got New York Pro coming in a week, right? Which isn't in New York.
Do you mean the Tampa Bay Pro?
The New York Tampa Pro.
Hilarious. 2020 just gets funnier and funnier, doesn't it?
It does get quite funny actually now. Yeah, nothing surprises me at all.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously, shout out to all the Scottish people eventually getting back to training today.
Or rather getting back to gyms, because definitely I've seen a few of our Scottish brethren just tearing it up in the gardens. Shout out to Steve McDonald for just being a full-time powerlifter in his garden.
Burst his socket today doing deadlifts, so.
Oh.
Means he didn't pull his rear out like you doing face pulls, so.
No. Oh, God, don't talk to me about injuries. I can't find a body part that I don't think I've got an injury in now. It just sucks.
Yeah, that's rubbish, isn't it? Do you find we go through little spits of that where it's like you've got like loads wrong, and then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, I'm absolutely fine again and nothing's wrong. Weird.
I don't know what it is. I think it's that old thing of training age as well, isn't it? It's like you think of how many reps of a certain exercise you've done. It's quite a lot. And then you think the connective tissue is like, oh, fuck off. So that's all it is, really. So just maybe a little rethink on some things and just more time warming up, I think, is all it needs.
Do you find, though, like you're so bro that like you'll have a deload for like all of like a day?
Yeah.
Just
But
deadlift session for max weight with someone. It's like
have a rest day, which is a deload, you know, and then that's it.
It's like it's supposed to be a week off, and it becomes a day, and you're like, feel great today. Let's go out to the gym.
I know.
So,
when I was in France, I did bent over rows, barbell row, and it felt great. And I was like back up to not far off the weight that I was doing before I hurt myself. So it's like I can just fucking do these all the time now. Then that's brilliant. And then I didn't this week, and it really hurt. So I thought, well, fuck off then. That's just, needs more time to recover, it would seem.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's the life we signed up for, I guess.
It is. So yeah, Tampa New York Pro.
Who's in it? Who have we got?
I know a few people. I don't know many of the big names. I know you've got you'll have your New York guys doing it. So John Del Rosa's definitely doing it.
Oh, is he? Okay, that's cool.
That's cool. John LaRosa officially, I think, is the nicest IFBB pro bodybuilder ever.
I don't know. Sergio was pretty nice when I met him. Best mate.
Really? I see. I've not met John. This is just based off what people have told me. Johnson told me that he's nice to a fault. Like he'll just do anything for anybody, but that can often kind of like be it to his detriment. So I like seeing John do well because he seems to put a lot into his preps and general bodybuilding.
He worked with last time where he looked really good.
He's working with Neil Hill now, and that's who he worked with then. Yeah.
Was that last year as well? The year before?
Last year, yeah, he looked fast.
Pretty decent, to be fair.
He did, yeah. He won, didn't he? Win. He won Vancouver.
He beat someone controversially. I can't remember who it was. It was like he shouldn't have beaten me. I think it might have been Nathan Diasha.
Yeah, he won Vancouver, and he won. And I think prior to that, he won the Puerto Rico Pro. I might be lying. He won some pro shows last year, and he looked great. And then I think he looked a bit flat at the Olympia. But I wonder if it's one of them, isn't it? It's you see some guys look great at an Olympia qualifier show, and then it's just a different ball game, isn't it? Because you're on stage with monsters, like real monsters. He's doing it. What's the guy's name now? His first name's Quinton, I think. The Canadian guy, HD muscle guy.
Yeah, HD muscle athlete. He looks very good, actually.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of like that Mark Hector type shape, hasn't he? Where he's very round, but will he be hard enough or not? I don't know. Judging by the last video, he looks pretty good, but
yeah, that's what Fuad was getting at. Actually, he was saying he's one of these guys that just might need a bit more time to like really get really hard. And Ivan Valier got a bit pissed off, like, well, I was really hard when I was young, but I think we've spoke about it before. Of like, if you're someone that's lean, then you don't have that issue of getting harder as you compete. But if you're someone that maybe just like is a bit softer, has the fat gene, then you do get harder, and perhaps he's kind of that.
Yeah, he's a funny one, isn't he? Because he looks like he'd be like seal skin, like never be in shape, and I think he has been pretty damn hard in the past as well. So that's.
So I was interesting podcast, and he was talking about he turned pro natural, actually.
What Quinton did?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Jeez.
Because he won his pro card at one of the Canadian, whether it's nationals or something, and he was able to. It was one of those ones where he turned pro and he was able to go and compete as an amateur still. That like they do the World Championships.
Yeah. He
was able to compete there before accepting his pro card. So he was able to go and do that, and he said he got waxed because he got there and everyone was like, "Yeah, everyone's on gear. There's no one's actually natural here." And he just got hammered. So, but yeah, I said that was a good experience. So
that was like when we went to 09 Washington, and it was just like, I think Doug Miller won the overall. But I mean, obviously everyone questions, Doug Miller as far as debatable, but he is probably one of them genetic freak guys. But there was a lot of like second tier call out guys who were like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just not in shape, but massive. You're like, come on.
He's not someone that Doug Miller's not someone I'd ever really consider as a fake natty. However you want to describe it, whether someone's took a supplement or something that is or not banned in competition and all that kind of bullshit. But he's never someone I really thought about it. That I think you're right. It's normally second tier guys maybe that just look huge, but don't really come in shape again.
Like Doug was one of them who always had was always like rock hard, and like he's not the most pleasingly put together guy, but he's got so much muscle and in all the right areas. You know what I mean? Like he's not really a shape guy, if that makes sense, but he's got good enough shape where his symmetry is still really good and everything. So it's kind of like wacky body parts, like his quads, hamstrings are ridiculous, backs, probably the best rear double bicep I've ever seen in natural bodybuilding.
Yeah. Symmetry. Then I've heard this debate quite a lot recently. When you hear, and you're a judge, so it's valid. When you talk about symmetry, what does it mean for you in bodybuilding? Is it literal symmetry that the bodybuilder is cut down the middle and looks a certain way side to side, or is it that it's almost like what's the word?
Proportions.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The physique is okay. A shape. You're looking at a shape guy. You know, it's good shape. It's good. You know, it's good aesthetics and that kind of thing. Maybe good quads and, you know, not overpowering body parts and all that kind of stuff.
So the very best example I can give of this is probably Dorian Yates.
Oh, sorry.
So Dorian Yates is definitely not a shape guy, but he has a symmetrical physique.
Okay, yeah.
So what I mean is that his quads are still in proportion with his upper. You could argue, make the sense and say, okay, but his arms were a little bit smaller in the front of a bicep, that kind of stuff. But his actual like shape from like, he didn't have, let's say like a Marcus Rule, where it's like Marcus Rule didn't really have good symmetry because his delts way overpowered his arm. Right. And then his like, you know, his midsection. So he still had a lot of muscle on his frame and, you know, way more than anyone else, but it didn't flow together. Whereas like him stood next to Dorian would beat him in a symmetry round every time, because although Dorian is like next to Flex Wheeler and he's still beating him in a symmetry round, that goes to show the difference between shape and symmetry and actually then being like proportionate and having good symmetry. So you don't necessarily have to be a shape guy, but there's a lot of people you look at like in the pro ranks, like Claxton's a good example. He still has good symmetry when you look at him in a quarter turns.
Yeah.
His physique, you could then say, isn't proportionate in like something like muscularity. Like I'd say it is proportionate, but it like his arms would need to come up to match how monstrous his quads are.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not having a dig at Mark because he knows I was a big time fan.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. That's a good example.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you can kind of maybe certain shot like quarter turns, for example, you can really nail them off and look really symmetrical. But then you might then not be as symmetrical in a muscularity round, if that makes sense. So, but you don't really judge a bodybuilding show that way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting just because it's just come up a lot recently, and the reason why, one of the main reasons why I asked it is I've never considered symmetry as you cut a bodybuilder down the middle and do they have one wonky arm and one not wonky arm. And I've heard it a lot recently, and I thought, how does anybody think that is how a bodybuilding show is done?
I mean, that's only really evident if maybe someone's had a pec tear or a quad tear, where you might go, okay, well, symmetry's off. Right. Or they've got one small leg, you know, you might look at that, but really you're judging the proportions usually between upper and lower is the biggest giveaway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not marking someone first on symmetry if you've got a slightly smaller guy who's less conditioned compared to a guy, let's say, I don't know who's a good example, but who's got like ridiculous, like a Daz Cooper, ridiculous quads, ridiculous hamstrings, and then a smaller upper body.
Mm.
He's gonna struggle to do really well in symmetry, although he still does look like it's a symmetrical physique to a certain point. But you can't judge that over someone who's maybe slightly smaller with not as much condition. The other guy has got a more symmetrical physique top to bottom. So that's what we're kind of looking at. It's more of how that sort of shape and flow goes between upper to left to right. I guess you could say that that's still left to right, but
yeah. It's funny because I've seen some best wheels trophies give out, and I've thought to myself on the face of it, wow, really? Like, I don't look at that guy's legs from the front and think, but then actually when you think about it a bit more, and you're like, oh, actually, that's a set of legs it's a very good set of legs, and actually it's good from the side and it's good from the back and it's good from all angles. So if you break it down like that, and you look at a whole physique. Yeah,
I mean, it's not a best quads trophy, is it? It's just that often tends to be the given of why someone would get one.
Right. So it's like someone could look symmetrical, proportioned in a shot, but not in others, not from the side, not from the back, and I guess it's factoring all them things.
I was going to say, including myself, I got a best legs trophy, but I really say that really my quads are the standout, but my hamstrings are still pretty small. So cheers
for ruining that. Nice one.
Cheers for going back on my own point. Never mind. Anything else to report on this week?
How's your prep? How's prep? How are we doing? How are we feeling? Other than, size.
Yeah, lots of size. I think more hungry days than kind of from what. Well, I say than what I can remember, but it's different this time around because I'm not at work. So if I'm keeping myself busy and everything, like at work, you just kind of like get through the day because I've got people coming in and showing people around and stuff. And you do get where you're like, you're starting. But I think I'm getting to that point, body fat wise, where it's becoming harder. I think that'll only be until my food goes back up, where it's like, okay, you're still going to be like having your times where. Like Lewis is a great example. Like he's on tons of food, but he's very close to his contest weight and he's struggling. So I think it's a good sort of point to make is that it's not necessarily how much food you're on, because if you get to a certain level of body fat, it starts to feel grim. And I think that's where we're at. So.
Yes, did we not mention that a few weeks back? Or we didn't. It was offline. It was
after hours with Ron and Bob.
Yeah, sorry, that was like conference call bingo then, wasn't it? Seeing that, it sucks. So many Zoom calls you get, it's just, it's rubbish. It doesn't, I think, was it the story of Dave Kay, who was eating potato at Body Academy? It cracked out his meal at Body Academy, and he had this just enormous Tupperware of potato and everything else, and he was like eating it and really dragging, and like, and someone commented like, there's a lot of food there, Dave, like you should be hungry. And his comment was that it's not about that. It's like it's how much you're eating for what your body is, and just what your body fat level is. Naturally, if you're 20 weeks out and you're not eating anything because you just can't get in shape or you've got a crap coach or whatever, then you're going to feel crap. But if you're eating a lot of food and you're right there in terms of body fat, then you're still going to feel crap.
A little different, isn't it? And it's kind of like good to identify that. It's where I can describe it is. The hunger I have in the off season when I'm really late for a meal is far, far worse, as in that drop in blood sugar and you're just like, fuck, I need to eat something, pass me a Snickers. Compared to like on prep, it's like you're in low power mode. The longer that goes where you don't get to eat or you're hungry, you're just kind of like, I'm just going to sit in this chair, I'm not going to move, and I'm quite happy. And that's the kind of the difference really. Whereas obviously when you're on off season, you get the shakes and the sweat, and it's like, I really need to eat something, or I'm hangry. It's that kind of feeling.
It's fun. I did the same the other day. When we finished training, I had not brought a shake, so I needed an emergency Subway on the way back.
Oh yeah, good, because that's really fast digested as well, especially if you had cheese.
Well, I did have cheese.
It better have been white bread.
I did get oatmeal raisin cookies though.
Oh, good. They're my favourite. That's my favourite cookie around.
Yeah, I guess if we're not including fancy places like Insomnia cookies and places like that.
Of course, but like for like off the shelf cookie, it's got a good amount of like gooiness to it and a good bit and enough cinnamon in there for it to come through. Right.
People look at me funny when I buy oatmeal raisin cookies, like like if I'm with work colleagues or like lay people with bodybuilding, and they're like, buying an oatmeal raisin cookie because it's healthy. I'm like, no.
It's got sugar in it. It's not even close to healthy.
There is nothing healthy about this oatmeal raisin cookie. But there you go. But it's also got me thinking, like especially traveling for work and stuff like that, and not being on prep, how I have done that in the past. Like I had to give myself the biggest pat on the back. I've traveled to some mental places in the Middle East, in East Asia, on prep, and done it. Like I've booked a place with a kitchen, I've been shopping, sorted all that out, and I got up and done my cardio on this and that. And when you talk about that kind of just wanting to sit in your chair and just not move, like it's funny because you must look back on some preps in the off season and think, how was I doing so many things? Because now I'll be in the off season now, and I'll be sat down after a day or whatever and just had my last meal, and I'm like, pretty tired. Probably just stay here now for a little bit and then go to bed, and that's going to be great. Whereas like on prep, you're like, I've got 5,000 steps. I've got a pops.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
The energy comes from somewhere, doesn't it? But going back to oatmeal and raisin cookies, did you ever have the Chef J cookies, the bodybuilding ones?
No.
Trioplex. They used to be in all the magazines. Used to be.
Yeah, I've never had them, but I do know what you mean.
So when we used to order through Tropicana Health and Fitness, where I used to work for Darren, I've still got the picture on my Facebook, which I'll send over to you. Obviously, if we were clever enough, we'd have it pop up on the screen.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Well, I spent £200 on trade price on cookies. So I bought two boxes of each, the oatmeal and raisin and the skinny dipped ones, which are the large oatmeal and raisin ones covered in yogurt. And they are the best protein oatmeal and raisin cookie that you can get. Hopefully you're searching for these so you can swap on the screen.
That's what we do now. We've developed to being able to share the screen and have a section in the podcast where we do this because we're so technology. You got it then, or you got yourself? There you go.
Yep, that's the ones. So the milk chocolate ones, well, the chocolate chip were very good. Box of 12, I'm going to have to, currently unavailable. Cheers, guys. I don't know what's happened to them.
Soft and moist.
They are. I'll definitely give them that. It used to be my go-to with a nice cup of milky coffee off season. The apple and cinnamon ones were absolutely exceptional as well. There were like bits of like little toffee in them. It's amazing.
What about?
Yeah, there wasn't really much going on as far as, I mean, it was still 18 grams of protein, but
Okay, what about?
Oh, cheers, T-dubs. Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What about?
Brother will be happy that he's made his feature on the podcast. Cheers.
Who's that? Sorry.
My niece and nephew, for anyone who wants to know. So
okay, sorry, I don't know that. What's the word? What's the? Oh, that's it, right? Okay, Oh, I can't spell.
No.
Dealer. Isn't it?
Yeah, we've got one in. We've got. Oh, okay, my cookie dealer. Okay.
So this is.
Have you had my cookie dough, by the way?
Yeah. Yes.
We've got one in Burton.
God, yeah, I got one in Trafford Centre. It was that was a must for when I finished prep.
I remember California having a meltdown because in fact, they opened up one in the Trafford Centre when he was on prep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So these are Juan Diesel Morel's and his missus company.
Really?
Everyone is losing to see Juan Diesel Morel, Diesel Dolls. These are people are losing their minds for these cookies. Apparently, they put them on sale. They do like a release, like like Seth Rosi does with All American Roughneck.
Yeah.
Like they do a release of cookies and they're gone in like 5 minutes.
Really, that's so smart.
I'm gonna watch this though, yeah.
Yep. Wow, look at that. What flavour's that? Milk chocolate.
Chocolate chips, caramel bits, and pecan.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Have you had Ben's cookie before?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Are you going to tell me that you've met Ben?
I have met Ben. He actually served me and Claire in Oxford. He's like 82 or something. He was like just putting like a full shift in just for shits and gigs.
I like these videos of the reveal.
Everyone's just going to tune into the podcast to watch cookie porn now. Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Babe, think the cookie's better?
Cara telling me about the place we went in France that was also pretty damn good. But these are good HD videos. So, all right.
Cookies. Yeah, sweet. Right, shall we talk some podcasts tonight then? Now that we've just spoken about food and I can't get Chef J cookies anywhere. That's annoying.
Unlucky.
I have to search for them.
Yeah. Try and surprise you with them.
All right, just quickly then, one question. How food focused and food like what we've just done, were you towards the end of your prep last year?
So last year specifically, I'd really stayed away from anything for a long time. I started to be a bit more food focused in the sort of last few weeks, which is 2, 3, 4 weeks, but not even really like a craving thing. More like I was looking forward to doing some more social things with Cara, really. You know, like where can we go and eat and enjoy some time together? That sounds a bit like, oh, he's lying there. He just wanted to eat the food. But and then this is going to sound dead out work wanker now. But the difference between 2017 and 19, 2017, I was going to British finals to take part. I was just really happy that I got an invite. So I was just happy to be there. So I was a lot more food focused then because I didn't really have the drive to prep for finals. Like once I qualified, and I've told you about crying over a pack of Oreos. Yeah, because I just wasn't really I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But
here's an onion flavour.
Tears and onion flavour. Wow. I still probably would have ate him if you told me I could. On my prep. But 19, I didn't have that food. I didn't have that. I really want to eat this food because I wanted to win more. I wanted to, the competition was actually more important than the food, which I know sounds outwork wanker, but it's true, really.
Something me and Claire have been talking about today. I was just like, what goes through your head when you're hungry? And it's like something I was really thinking about today. Like, what is it? Like, is it like it's some of the reason why I think the topic for the podcast come up in my head today, which is a nice segue in, really.
Oh, good.
But fucking good at podcasts. So basically, really like the old school mentality of like suffering, if you like, and the old school mentality of like maybe some of which has been lost in today's world of like wanting to make everything easier because, no one wants to be uncomfortable. So it's a little bit of a cliche, but a little bit of, there's some truth to that, which I think that for the people who really get like inside out peeled and you do really, really, really well, I think that you have to have a lot of that mentality towards it. And I don't think it's to say that there's, not more than one way to skin a cat, because some people can flexible diet, get in shape and all that kind of stuff. But going back to my thought process of like when I'm hungry or tired or whatever, and I'm like embracing the suck of it all, if you like, I'm trying to understand like why it is that I like that and why I enjoy that. And I don't really enjoy it, but I think it's that kind of thing of like realizing that like, oh, I'm fucking really hardcore and I want to smash this show and that's really important to me. But I almost can't put my finger on it. Like, why is it that I enjoy that?
Is it then? This is interesting because Fuad had been saying that I think he'd been getting a lot of shit for. He made a post saying that prepping wasn't fun or something like that, and someone was like, someone commented that, if it's not fun for you, then why are you doing it? And he got really angry in a prep sort of ranty way. And to your point, he was saying that like it's the payoff that is the fun, or the payoff that is the enjoyable thing. So for the hard work and the being hungry and this and the cat and the doing, you don't enjoy doing the cardio. You're not like, I fucking love bodybuilding and I've got 2 hours of cardio and I can't wait to do it. But what you do love is the shreds that you get from doing it, and then you get the results from the show or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, and that you enjoy that far more than you don't enjoy the shit feeling of being hungry and dieting. So maybe it's that, is you like the payoff far more than you dislike the hunger and the being tired and all that.
Sorry, but we had the live meme come through on the show once again. Very pleased with that. That's Bill and Ted, and it's called Bob and Aeronn's Excellent Adventure, episode 22. So get that down, yeah. Got our faces.
Oh, brilliant. Cara hates that picture of me because she thinks I look a bit special on it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like your picture when you won your pro card, I guess. The one in Unity.
Side.
What?
The one with me going cross-eyed.
Yes.
Did I tell you the story about that?
I never actually spoke about it. I've just always ignored it. I just thought, why is there a big picture of Rob looking in two different directions?
I'm going to find you why it's funny. Okay. So what happened was I've got a good friend of mine, Gilly, who I work with, and we were in Tenerife, and wasn't long after the the mural. Mural, is that the right word?
What, the one that you have in uni?
Painting on the wall, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was showing me a picture, and he was scrolling through his phone, and then there was that picture of me on the wall, and then it zoomed in on my face.
Okay.
I was like, why have you got that on your phone? And he went dead silent, like. I was like, why have you got? I don't understand. And then like he just like looks really guilty. And I was like, is it because I look a bit cross-eyed on it? And fucking lost it. Like he was pissing himself laughing, and he was like, I'm really sorry, I feel terrible. Because obviously he'd been, texting his other mate behind my back about how cross-eyed I was in the photo. And obviously then I found it hilarious, and then I obviously then had him up it, and then every opportunity. Do you remember that time you were going to make out cross-eyed? So he's like, how dare you make me feel bad for that? Because obviously I didn't really care, because it is funny.
Yeah.
But have you seen the one of Ronaldo, of it, the little statue head?
Yeah, the fake one. Oh,
This is hilarious. Because no, that is so it's hilarious. And my other mate had sent me a picture, because I sent him a picture on Instagram. No, I put a picture up of me and Claire on Instagram, and my other mate had then text in the boys group saying, why are you so cross-eyed? And then he sent that picture of that, and I went, oh, you're gonna love this. And I sent him that picture of the one of me on the wall, and he fucking lost it. He's like, why are you so cross-eyed? I don't know. It's just the picture at the time. I'm not really cross-eyed, but maybe I am.
Well,
so
you've
cheers.
gone. You've not gone cross-eyed. You've gone. Take a screenshot, because you look brilliantly kind of frozen now doing this.
Oh dear. So yeah, maybe I'm a bit cross-eyed. It's probably worse on prep as well. I watched some of last week's episode that we recorded, and there's lots of moments while I'm on prep where I'm just like, apologies to our viewers for having to put up with in-season Bob, because
I'm looking forward to the
in-season Bob, do they? Everyone prefers fat off-season Bob. So
yeah. I'm looking forward to the stifled yawn on the about the hour mark. I always look forward to that. We just kind of, it's not, you try and be polite with it, but you just more like this, go
like yeah. You always get the stifled yawns in really inappropriate situations where it's not really good. Like I'll be talking to people at work, and they'll be like, I need to lose these 22 pounds because my husband's left me.
Is that a real thing, or is that...
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can do something about that.
Is your answer to that it's probably a bit late? Probably.
Right. Back on the market. She wants to get into the bikini body, and we visualize that, and we,
yes,
we sell her the dream.
Sell her all the memberships.
Yeah, exactly.
It can't wait to be back doing that.
Yeah, indeed. So anyway, back to the point in hand. So we were talking about that was going to be our podcast topic. Podcast topic of the week. Going to be. So, is there anything you can think of where it's kind of got like things that I think John Hodgson was talking about it a little bit on his podcast this week about it's not really very pretty bodybuilding, and it's not glamorous like people want to believe it is. Like, you know, losing body fat and getting into real stage condition is not very fun, really. But so is there anything that you can think of that is kind of like maybe something that we could all do with getting back to a little bit when you see people turn up year upon year like not in shape?
Yeah. So I have a little hashtag that I threw about every little hashtag. Yeah.
Hashtag Tooling?
Hashtag no.
Oh.
I guess it sucks if you are hashtag too lean, but I mean, it doesn't always work out in your favour, sadly. But I digress. My hashtag was it was pick things up and put them down again. And why I say that is, and it's what I think people could get back to doing, is that notion of, and it's why I know which clip you're on about with John Hodgson. It's that if it's not sexy on Instagram, if it doesn't look cool, if it's not a training method with an acronym or a fancy name or a methodology or a 15-part series as to why it's a good training methodology, people don't want to know about it. But if you had a YouTube training channel that said, pick up this weight and just keep picking it up and putting it down until you can't do it anymore, and then eat more calories than your body expends, and that'll be a very short video, you know, and people just wouldn't want to watch it. People wouldn't want to post about it. People won't want to post the videos of doing that. They want to be able to say that they're doing this type of training, or that they're doing, you know, they're working in this kind of way. And I think that's what we could get back to doing, is just saying, you know, just saying it for what it is, doing it for what it is. It's like, it's picking things up, putting it down again, and eating chicken and rice. Like
if it fits your macros and push-pull legs all in the same day.
Yeah. You know,
even though we love push-pull legs, because we bloody did push on Sunday, didn't we?
We did, but we did push because we're injured and old. And we were like, oh, I can't really do chest because of this. I can't really do shoulders because of this. So we just do it all then. Funny actually, because the thing that my chest is sore, but my triceps are more sore than anything because I just pushed things for 2 hours. Yeah. But yeah, we kind of take the piss out of the push-pull leg things quite a bit. And I know there's a few people that are very, you know, when I say there's a few people that are good bodybuilders, there's lots of good bodybuilders. So Hunter Labrada does it. I don't know, does Claxton train in a similar way? Because I know he doesn't train often, right? He hasn't, doesn't have many training days. So
like 6 days a week, push-pull legs, and like 3 hours of time. So
okay,
he's an exception. So
yeah, and obviously Hunter, like someone like Hunter Labrada who does push-pull legs. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. It's whether you're doing a bro split, push-pull legs, whatever, it's all doing the same thing. If you watch Hunter train, he's training very hard, very heavy, training to failure. So he's doing the same as what someone else is doing. It's that saying, that it's that telling people that you're doing push-pull legs, telling people that you're doing this particular training methodology because you've seen other people do it or because someone else do it, and how good it is. And I made a post the other day. What was it? It was you know, the meme of the guy sat at the trestle table, and it's the change my mind meme.
Yeah.
And it was
change my mind. They're brilliant.
Yeah, it was judges don't care about what your 1 rep max dumbbell RDL. Change my mind, because it's shit like that it seems cool to post now. Is doing RDLs with like 90 kilos or something, a dumbbell with the tiniest range of motion, and then probably still having shit hamstrings anyway.
Did you see when Dave K posted that? He's like, how does this exercise work again? He had like 70s and he was doing it for like 50 reps.
Right.
It was like, how does this work again?
You know, and that's it. And that's the thing. It's like Dave K can do that with the same weight as some of these people are doing their 1 rep maxes for. So what does that? And his hamstrings are incredible. So what does it tell you? These people doing these 1 rep max RDLs need to be doing less weight, but training maybe even more, bro. You know, but it's one of those. It's one of those. I think there's been it's funny because we're talking about You know, are people not willing to suffer and work hard enough and stuff like that? I almost don't think it's just that. It's this influence of social media. It's people wanting to portray something that they're not. So some people want to say if it fits your macros, and it's so much easier. And if you work with me or if you do my methodology, you know, you won't have to work as hard. And some people resonate to that. Some people resonate to going, if you work with me, it'll be so hardcore, and you'll never sleep, you'll never see your friends, you're never allowed to do anything fun, but it's the most hardcore methodology. And you know, some people resonate into that. Not sure if either of them work, just because it's cool to do one of them, and that's a problem, I think.
And I think I said I think the conversation that I ended up having in my head a few weeks back, maybe longer, but it was like that whole thing of like, there's nothing wrong with like, you know, being uncomfortable for a while, and in certain situations where it's like, why in my own head am I like justifying or trying to get where you want to make yourself feel better? Like, this is people's day in, day out lives, right? So it's like, whether it be you're a little bit cold or a little bit hungry, it's like that thing of like, right, I need to fix that. I need to put something in my mouth. I need to eat something. And it's like, I wonder if I do that too much in the off season, where it's like, oh no, I'm a bit hungry, and I'll just eat something because I can. Yeah. But would it, thinking about how heavy I get in off season and stuff, would I need to be a lot more disciplined to go hunger for periods of time and things like that? And maybe that's why, because it is very extreme in season, and I don't cheat on my diet, and I don't overeat, and I don't do things that I'm supposed to do, my cardio, that it's like, okay, like now this is the mental break from it. So there's the two sides of it. But I think sometimes it takes longer than you think to flip that switch of going like, it's all right to feel a bit shit today. Like, there's a great like analogy of like, I think Acito said it on the podcast recently. It's like, if you've got a Ferrari, it can still operate its best on a quarter of a tank of gas.
Oh, that's the best saying of all time. It is. You can still something like you can still do 120 down the freeway on a quarter tank of gas.
Yeah.
And that I heard that last year, and I told DSL, and I was like, that's the fucking best.
Because it's true. Like, I'll be out on my walk, and I'll be thinking like, you know, like I feel a bit shit today, and I was like, oh, like, I need to cut this walk short because I didn't get back in time for training, and I want to make sure that I'm able to push 100 kilos on the bench. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. I think actually you're just talking yourself out of that. You're talking yourself out of actually probably needing to push, because I think I get, as I said to you before, like stages with prep where it's like, you then, I think it was speaking to James Melvin the other week of like turning the screw.
Yeah.
So when it's like, okay, like my thing might be like, all right, you're having pancakes for breakfast every morning, oats, banana, egg, all that kind of stuff. And I like to put some toppings on, whether it be Splendor and lemon juice and like maybe a little bit of nut butters and things like that. And you're thinking like, at the time, this all serves a purpose for a period of time. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, I need to drop some calories. Should I get rid of some of the naughtier stuff and put a little bit more of the good stuff in, you know, the cleaner stuff, if you like? Because I feel like, right, okay, that's what I just need to do to then move into that different section of context prep where it's like, okay, like at the moment, it's pretty bare bones. I'm eating white potato, sweet potato, oats, eggs, bit of protein powder. Do you know what I mean? But like, my prep 6 months ago didn't look like that. It was a lot more like, you know, I have a protein bar a day and things like that, where it's like, I'm not saying that people can't do that and get into shape for a show. But for me, mentally, that's the kind of screw I need to turn to go into the next phase of it all, I think. And I think that's the realization for myself is like, you've had enough time of what Claire will always say to me, of being good to yourself. Like, it's time to fucking like man up a little bit and to push on. You're like, yeah, you're probably right.
Do you know, because I've asked you before about I asked you, had you ever considered leaner, like staying a bit tighter in the off season? You said to me you tried it once and it was shit, and you couldn't prep properly because you struggled and you couldn't get in it and all that. Do you think? And this isn't this isn't saying everybody, because what I don't want people to think is that just because you and I get big in the off season doesn't mean that everybody should or needs to or whatever. But do you think that by doing so, by being good to yourself in the off season, or just rather, because it's not even that you're not bodybuilding in the off season, it's quite the opposite actually. You know, our off seasons are, you know, with the intention to grow muscle at all costs, even if there's fat gain. But also as well, it allows us to spend time with friends, family, loved ones, you know, all that kind of stuff, and turn off a little bit from, you know, I still watch, you know, training videos before I go to the gym, but compared to prep, where I'm going in the gym with like Machiavelli motivation on YouTube in my ears, you know, like that kind of difference.
Yeah.
Do you think that allows you to hit prep harder? Because I think it does. You talk about that turning the screw, flipping the switch, whatever you want to say it is. When I'm prepping, then I know I can go, okay, now we're doing this. Yeah. Those things I was doing in the off season, I stopped doing them, and it's that switch. You know, I think, I'm not saying and I'm going to mini cut the year before I compete again, and so that I'm a little bit tighter. But still, there'll be that acknowledgement of now it's prep. You know, and I think that makes it easier.
I think that you've got to decide what kind of person you are. I think that one thing I can say from the fact that I've been competing over 10 years and I still love it, and I still love the whole process, is because probably the longevity has been because I've had the off season and I've had the mental break from it. And like, it's just a classic example. It's like, you know, I'll eat my meal or whatever, and then was like, we're going for burgers, you coming? It's like, yeah, of course. Because I don't want to miss out on that side of things as well. And it's like, hey, I only ate an hour ago, but who cares? So I don't want to, I said, like, having to limit myself that way, where it's okay, like, okay, you could be more disciplined. So there's maybe a little bit, I think, that I'll maybe take from this prep this year, where I'm like, it's okay to be a bit hungry for a while. Nothing's going to happen. I'm going to lose muscle. It's all right to just suffer a little bit, drink some water, have a can of Pepsi Max, whatever, which I think will serve me a good purpose. But on the same side, as I said, maybe that's what allows me to kind of then take it to that, you know, that kind of peak week feel where it's like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to kind of like embrace the fact that I feel this way because I know it's going to yield a result. And I think that's the days that really, they do change you, change your physique. They allow you to kind of like maybe get into that realms of body fat levels where maybe some people aren't willing to push you because they feel like, oh, I'm getting a bit flat or whatever, I need to have a little bit more food. Like, I'm quite willing to accept that. Okay, like, that's okay with me. Like, you know, this will suck.
That flatness thing has stopped a lot. I would imagine has stopped a lot of bodybuilders getting in shape, right? That fear of being flat has made a lot of bodybuilders not push hard enough or put food back in or whatever. You know, it's I've said to a few people this year, just sent me check-ins and said, oh, I'm a bit worried I feel a bit flat today or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you know, you can be flat if you, let's say you're prepping for 20 weeks, you can be flat for 19 weeks and 6 days. As long as you're full on show day, then it doesn't matter. If you're in a calorie deficit, if you're losing body fat, you know, the science really, without getting too much into it, says that you should be flat quite a lot of the time. If you're full all the time, then surely you've not got you've got a surplus of calories, right, stored in your muscle. So I think
that they have to be a little bit careful with that, though. I did actually have someone reply to our podcast from last week. It's like, what's the big deal? Like, what's the worry with being flat? I'm like, well, there's the realms of you running of like losing body fat if you're like it all the time. If you're doing a lot of cardio and you're there's a fine line, isn't there? It's like you're doing a lot of cardio, you're not eating enough. That's why you're flat, and you're almost then over dieted. So my point being is that sometimes it should be that you need to fill up to kind of see actually how you look, rather than just like, all right, I've been flat for 19 weeks and I'm going to throw some carbs in and then watch this magic happen, because that's when that's the silliness.
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay, you know.
I guess the example of saying like you can stay flat throughout the whole prep isn't a good one. I think what I'm trying to say is like if at any point on a prep you are flat.
Should we delete that bit off the podcast? Yeah. So.
Just timestamp 50. Just saying, no, just really saying that it's okay to be flat at points on a prep. Really, is what I'm saying. Is that if you've got a day where you do a check-in and you're flat, that's all right. You know, it's not. You know, you don't have to be brimming full until you are on stage. You can have the days where you fill up and you can say, okay, this is what I actually look like. But don't think that your physique is suffering because you've been flat for a day or two. I think that's it.
I think that's a really good point, because, you know, I don't get people's check-ins through and go like, oh my God, you're flat today, like emergency load. Like, right, okay, let's put a bit more food in tonight. Send me a check-in tomorrow. Let's have a look, because, you know, and I think maybe said people, they maybe overly worry about it, especially if you're someone who like little Chris, for example, like he gets flat very, very easily. And it's like he probably stresses about it more than he needs to. But actually, with a good few days of like filling out, he's always going to be so conditioned that he's just going to look better. So it's just kind of like, you know, don't worry about it, but just, you know, make the effort to kind of bring up a little bit. Don't run the risk of like, okay, you're a little bit flat, but let's just continue down that rabbit hole, because then you can be to the point where you can put so much in and you still don't fill out. So you have to experiment with it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we kind of acknowledge the fact that, see, that's what I wanted to point out, is that the kind of the new school problems there might be. I know we sound like two grumpy old men, but it goes both sides, right? It's the not working hard enough and then the outwork crew, and they both kind of have the same sort of it's the same sort of thing, really, right? It's trying to say that you're doing something for an out, you know, to look a certain way. I feel I'd quote is train like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people want to look like they're training really hard so that people say, oh, you're really hardcore. People want to look like they're not doing much so people can say, oh, your method's really good. You know, can I work with you or whatever? I acknowledge both of them things. Do you think that the kind of new school mentality and the kind of whether bodybuilding generally is a little less hardcore now, maybe not, how do you think that has leaked into sort of the pro ranks then of IFBB, kind of, you know, the stuff that we really like to watch? You know, just think, do you take to the notion that 90s bodybuilding was the golden era and everyone now sucks, or do you think it's something else?
I definitely think a lot of the guys, I mean, I definitely think maybe some of the drugs and stuff are different, and whether it's people who've got, you know, bigger, quicker. I mean, the caliber of the guys, that's the problem is with that, or, you know, argument is that you've got guys maybe who were like doing well at nationals. Like when you hear about like, oh, this was the result of like the 1993 nationals, and then like in 7th place was Flex Wheeler or something. Yeah. Huh? So it was in like 1 to 6.
Yeah.
So like, so the realms of the quality was definitely deeper in certain parts. Maybe because there wasn't as many pro cars. I don't. But that's a whole new subject really. But I think that like, there's definitely a lot of guys out there. I think there was a post about it this week with. Do you see the caption? It was Martin Fitzwater, someone else in the bottom, and they were all like helping a guy put a barbell on his back, and then there was like Evan Fankhauser and thing in an animal video, and it was like 2 pictures of the contrast is like, you know, everyone said bodybuilding used to be amazing, but we still agree it's pretty good now,
right?
And it was like these 3 guys were like peeled at the bottom, all like jacked and tanned, and then you've got obviously the guys in the black and white picture, and that was a really cool post because I thought still really good now. Yeah. But maybe with the as you go into the different categories, and this is not a bag on men's physique, but a lot of the top guys are very, very good, like great bodybuilders. But you know, they're still in the realms of like on the scale of being big, not big compared to like your big Rammies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So they just don't need to be as hardcore. They probably can do pump training, train more machines, you know, even see like, I mean, maybe I haven't seen all of his stuff, but like I just watched some of Regan's videos and I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm just like, okay, he's still like training fairly hard, but like could be like an absolute like freak of nature, and he already is. But do you know what I mean? Like to be
real,
where it's like you watch that and you're like totally inspired by like watching Branch Warren train. Okay, everyone, oh, form police, whatever, but it's a whole different ball game, isn't it? You know.
That's why I like. So I mean, shout out to Keon Pearson for having the prettiest physique in the IFBB right now, being sponsored by Gasp and just training like Branch Warren. It's ace. You just watch any of his videos. He doesn't know the names of any exercises. Like he goes on this row machine. He goes on this. He goes on like a chest supported row machine, hammer strength row machine. He's like, I don't know what this is called. I'll just call it a damn row, and just starts going. It's great. But I think, so shout out to Keon for that. I know he watches. But when you mention like Regan and you mentioned Bumstead and a few other people like that, there is that, because of the new classes, and love classic physique, but almost wish it didn't have to be there. Like I wish that open bodybuilding was judged in such a way that you could have the lines of classic physique and be rewarded for it. You know, perhaps a better option would be more weight categories in open pro bodybuilding, you know, and kind of do it that way. But I guess that's for a different thing.
I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, you watch someone like Bumstead and like he's still grinding through like, you know, a 5-plate squat and stuff, and he's still going pretty hard with it. It's just maybe it's the way like, you know, some of the like the dress wear is in the gym and stuff for the new school. Maybe that's some of our old school stuff where it's like I like some of the stuff, but as I said, it's like it's almost like it's so far from what it used to be. Like the 90s baggies and the parachute pants. I'm not expecting everyone to turn up in parachute pants, but it was just like I always just loved all that, and I think that it all goes hand in hand with it, you know. And it was the, you know, and I think that, you know, like walking around with the chicken and brown rice Tupperwares and, you know, all that kind of stuff, with the milk carton water jug, like it, you know, that was what kind of like appealed to me about it. But
that's what got us into it.
I don't expect people to do it either.
No, I don't expect people to do that, and that's what got us into it. And we'll be the old men that forever say like back in our day, that kind of thing, even though it wasn't really our day. The likes that we're saying is the likes of Regan and Bumstead and anyone else that's kind of like actually killing it more on social media than on a stage. Not Bumstead, because he's the obviously Olympia champion, but you know, their outlet really isn't competing.
Yeah,
you know, they could stop competing. Regan could never compete ever again and still be as successful as he is.
That's the biggest difference,
right? And then back in the 90s, there wasn't that. So Sean Ray had all his endorsements through competing. You know, and then magazines and those kind of things. He didn't have social media to be posting daily about what he was eating and that and the other. So, you know, it was about how successful you were in a show. That isn't necessarily the case now. And then combine that with, as you said, that there's more pro cards handed out. You know, Nationals and USA's, I think, was the 2 pro cards you used to be able to get in America, and now it's, you know, as many as you like. But also, in defense actually now of the current era of bodybuilding, I always think this, and I think it's something that's not really considered that much, is if you watch 90s bodybuilding, it's probably not going to be a very high quality video compared to now. You can live stream the Olympia in HD from every possible angle that you don't even want to see. You know, you'll get a side shot of William Bonac doing a rear double, sticking his stomach out because he's doing a rear double. And every time he's ever practiced that shot, he's given no fucks about what the front of his body looks like. But the guys filming the Olympia are taking the pitch from the side. You know, that wasn't the case in the 90s. You know, HD has had a large effect on a lot of things. You know, it's just the way people look. And then to add to that, the standards of condition that is required nowadays. If your glutes are not in on an IFBB Pro stage, you are not
In shape.
Got to do. You're not in shape, doesn't matter. Look back at the 90s at some of the guys that we talk about being the absolute best. They probably have shaped glutes, right? You can see that it's a muscle, but they ain't lines. You know, we're not talking about Rich Gaspari or someone like that. They weren't lines for a while, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you have to do that now, then are we not looking at bodybuilders actually that are just flat? Because at the expense of being blasting Flex Wheeler full, Kevin Leveron full, they're thinking I need to have my glutes in, so I'm going to be a little bit flatter. And it's not got that 90s wow.
Sort of Melvin Anthony round, and it said, like, you know, he never had a line in his glutes, but neither did Lee Priest really either. But, you know, they're shredded everywhere else. It's just probably that. It's probably that like really nice look between just before you get shredded. It's like
4 weeks out,
top in a gym. We look class, but it's that. As I said, maybe, you know, as I've spoke about before, it's like what I have to do to maybe lose a little bit of fullness through the legs and that kind of stuff. But the detail actually on stage looks a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you'll get rewarded for. As much as you may like that look better,
yeah,
you know, you might look, you know, 10 pounds over contest weight, look great in the gym, but it's not, unfortunately, that's not, you know, that hard graininess that people kind of want are rewarding. And I'm all in favour of that. I think, you know, in the day I will judge shows to a certain point with that as well, because, you know, it's hard to overlook really good conditioning. So yeah, it's one of them, I think, really. So yeah, I think it's a cool subject to kind of think of. There's probably some more parts to it, I think, that maybe things that you know, I don't like about today's and liked about the old era. So maybe we could even do a part 2 on this, because I'd probably find some stuff that you're like, oh yeah, and what about this? So maybe a part 2.
Yeah, part 2 will just, I reckon, will become far more ranty. Just be like, I hate this guy. I hate when this person wears this. I hate when they do this.
Yeah, that's it. But I think there's like some old school stuff which really is like, it's kind of like, you know, as I said, it wouldn't hurt a few people. I remember someone saying this on the chicken and rice cake guy, like fish and a rice cake, and they were like, few people could do with doing that to actually be in shape for a show because they're that far away from conditioning. They don't even know what a chicken and rice cake is, or fish and rice cake. Sorry. So,
I just realised we can maybe leave it on this. Am I this current generation's fish and a rice cake, but it's 8 litres of water in a day?
Yeah, it could be.
Wow.
Comedy flush,
8 litres of water in a day. Wow.
Made me say it. They made me say it.
Claim to fame.
So yeah, good stuff. Right, I'm ready to wrap it up. It's time for oats.
Nice. Oats o'clock. Probably going to have chicken rice with some Madras curry sauce.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that from? Is that leftover takeaway?
No, just a jar from Tesco. Nothing exciting. You know that time in off season when you just start putting everything on your food because being good to yourself, that sort of thing. And then I think I've got like about 400-500 calories left. So I'm just going to see.
That sounds nice. You definitely have to come down the off season to the Indian on the A38 Anoki for some optimal off season eatery. Plus, they always have a little takeaway section where you can just buy the like tandoori chicken in an already made wet for you. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to when Natty Muscle Radio can tour and do food places, not in a weird lockdown or prep stage, and we can just do food videos and stuff. That'd be ace.
As I said, everybody prefers Fat Bob, so
even Bob prefers Fat Bob.
Yeah, I think so.
All right then.
Just more fun. Everyone prefers the stories of going to Five Guys and then eating your chicken and rice or steak and rice half an hour later because that's what people really want to hear about. They don't want to hear about me being hungry. So
eating ice cubes for meal 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I've got sensitive teeth, so can't do that one either. So
all right, cool. I guess then, Natty Muscle Radio.
There's always another level.
Peace.
See you next week.